This is your communication podcast with Teresa. Okay guys, so we have talked about the learning theories already as one block of content, and they basically describe persuasion as a specific type of learning.
Oh my God.
Let's move on to a second group of theories that can be called consistency theories. And actually, the word consistency is not entirely new to you. We have talked about the fact that in order to get people motivated, you kind of want to throw them into a state of dissonance. Remember, a state of dissonance is that uncomfortable feeling. You want to make people uncomfortable because that actually breeds the ground for motivation.
Oh my God.
So consistency theories pretty much have a similar tenor in that they are talking about the fact that people do not like inconsistencies, sometimes also called imbalance or incongruency or dissonance, and they constantly strive to reestablish a state of being that is constant and in balance.
Oh my God.
There are various sources for inconsistencies. For example, you being confronted with two different messages, or you thinking one thing and somebody who's dear to you thinks another thing. And these consistency theories actually grab onto these different scenarios and put forward different ways of how to get out of these scenarios. As I said, cognitive dissonance is a very important word here, and it's basically just a state of discomfort. You're not feeling great, things are not being aligned for you, and it's just a state that you don't want to be in for a prolonged period.
Oh my God.
We have already chatted about the sources of dissonance. Remember, it was loss of group prestige, loss of personal prestige, economic loss, a bad conscience, and here they bring up one particular reason that seems to be a more important source of discomfort, and that is when our inner system is not aligned with the systems of societies and the social norms that exist out there. Sorry for the juicy examples, but a social norm in a Western society is to be in a monogamous relationship. What happens to you if you feel drawn towards somebody who is not your partner? Obviously, then your inner system would clash with what is accepted in the societal sense, and that would throw you off balance completely. As I already pointed out, the source of inconsistencies are numerous. Two different sets of messages, a person's attitudes and your behavior could be at odds as well, or there is a difference in your behavior and the behavior that is expected of you by others.
Oh my God.
Balance theory is Balance theory today is our first theory to do with consistency, and it was devised by Hyder and Newcomb. And basically, instead of talking about dissonance, they're talking about a disequilibrium or imbalance. And they actually identify the cause of the disequilibrium to be if two people have different opinions on a subject. And they say there are two ways for you to get out of this little kerfuffle. One is to change your opinion on the other person, or to change your opinion of the topic. Two major factors come into play here. How strongly do you feel about the other person, and how strongly do you feel about the matter? It is so odd. When my husband and I got married, my husband is not religious. I was brought up in a Christian household, even though we weren't really practicing much of our Christian belief. But I found it very important to get married in a church. And weirdly, I found it more important than my beliefs actually were to me. And I found it hard to prioritize my husband's wishes, which were actually aligned with my wishes, because I felt I needed to feel strongly about my religion, which actually I never practiced. So it's a tricky one. And we are also quite stubborn people. It's hard to sometimes change your mind. It's hard to sometimes give in. But basically, Hyder and Newcomb say, in order for you to reestablish your balance, you have to change something. And we want to be in balance. So a decision has to be made.
Oh my God.
Congruency theory is the second theory. Once again, a different word for the same idea. Congruence means balance. Congruence means consonance. Congruence means everything is aligned. Look at those cute little penguins on the slide. They are happy as Larry, and Oscar and Tannenbaum talk exactly about this. Okay, so experience congruence, a state of balance, has to do with you not being torn between two concepts, two people, or two sets of information.
Oh my God.
The third theory, which is actually the one that we have referred to in the past and is the one that is most often quoted, cognitive dissonance. Okay, Festinger actually was the guy who came up with it, and he says that the discomfort is once again caused by conflicts or inconsistencies between a person's attitudes and behaviors. Okay, so something within you, your attitudes, do not align with what you are doing. Actually, we see this a lot with addiction patients who obviously know that their addiction is very bad for them, but the behavior can't really follow.
Oh my God.
Festinger doesn't just identify the cause of dissonance, he also establishes ways of getting out of it. You can be less certain about the original belief, so your inner system actually starts to change. You can dismiss the information that is being brought toward you as untrue. So somebody rocks your world, somebody tells you something, for example, that is not completely aligned, okay? So the easiest way to just put yourself back into balance to say, liar, that's not true. A lot of religious people actually do that. Discounting the new information as malicious damage through selective perception is a wonderful technique that a lot of girls actually use. So if girls are being confronted with certain problems in their lives, what do their best friends say? Oh, this person is just jealous. And that is basically discarding what you've just heard about yourself as malicious damage instead of true information or feedback. The fourth way of getting back into balance is trying to forget the new information. Think about the smokers out there who have to look at these horrific pictures, especially in the UK, on their cigarette boxes. A lot of them just go into denial. They're actually not looking at these pictures, or they're trying to forget the pictures. And the last way of getting back into balance is by rationalizing. And we all do that. We're all trying to explain things away that make us feel tension. So rationalizing is a lovely technique.
Oh my God.
So how is cognitive dissonance as a theory different from the congruency and balance theory? Very, very simple. The tension here is caused by one person's psychological system. It doesn't look like the congruency theory and the balance theory at tensions caused by logical inconsistencies. So the dissonance theory is much more feelings-based, much more subjective in the sources of psychological pain or discomfort. But Festinger has one thing in common with the other four scholars, in that he says everybody strives for preservation of stability.
Oh my God.
Somewhat of an odd addition is the belief hierarchy theory in the discussion of consistency theories, because this is the only theory that actually says in order for people to make persuasion last is to confront somebody with an inconsistency. And that's exactly what I said to you about advertisers. Advertisers know that you are pretty well adapted and that you're cool and that you actually don't need anything. So what do? They introduce an inconsistency in your life. For example, they say, are you tired? Yes, of course. Everybody is tired from time to time. I was tired yesterday because I had only 6 hours sleep instead of 8 hours. But there's nothing wrong with me. But now the advertiser's asking me blankly, are you tired? Is there something wrong? I have the tendency to then say, maybe something is wrong when there isn't, okay? Or are you feeling sad sometimes? Yes, of course, everybody feels sad. Or are you sometimes constipated? Yes, everybody is constipated from time to time. But the advertisers are confronting you with inconsistencies in order to make you question. And how do you reestablish balance? Of course, through the use of the product. But I am digressing. The belief hierarchy theory basically says that attitudes, beliefs, and values are interwoven and ranked in our minds. There are more important attitudes and more important beliefs, and there are less important attitudes and beliefs that we have swirling around in our heads. We are bringing this web of beliefs and values to a persuasive situation. And we, of course, run the persuasive message by this system of beliefs. And the system of beliefs can be divided into terminal beliefs / values and instrumental beliefs / values. I don't know why they called it belief hierarchy theory when they're actually then talking about values, but just go with me here, please. Terminal values are the important things in our lives, okay? So these are the things that never change. If we are born in a culture that values freedom and family, then obviously that stays that way. And these are our anchor points. These are the things that are important to us. Instrumental values are values that get us to achieve our terminal values. If our terminal value is to get a higher education, or to get a good education, then our instrumental value would be discipline in the way we're doing our work and investing in a university degree. Why do we talk about terminal and instrumental values? Because persuaders know to rattle the instrumental values and to rattle the terminal values in order to get you there. And that's what the inconsistency is all about that they're trying to create. I hope you enjoyed it, Schnookies. Until next time, bye!